Hello everyone and welcome back to The Attic. I want to take a quick second to address something that was pointed out to me over the weekend. According to some eagle-eyed internet sleuths, the title of my trusted copy of The Thornbirds changed over the course of a closer look. Obviously, the last thing we want is for any book nonsense to distract from the content of a look, so to make sure it doesn't happen this week, I will be placing a book on top of my copy of The Thornbirds to keep it in place, and that right there should be the end of that. Also, I want to note that it has now been 70 days since my last haircut, and while it looks tame enough now, I assure you that over the weekend, this thing is a hot mess, so thank God for Monday and a reason to comb it. Speaking of hot messes, segue, it's clear the president desperately wants to pretend the coronavirus will just go away, and now he's trying to distract from his own poor job performance by calling for his predecessor to be investigated for a made-up scandal he can't even define. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. One of the most frustrating parts of this pandemic has been watching countries around the world, from Australia to Iceland to Taiwan to New Zealand, successfully suppress their outbreaks with competent leadership and slowly begin to safely reopen their economies. Meanwhile, we have a president who won't even wear a mask at a mask distribution facility while surrounded by people wearing masks. Oh, sure. When he was trying to get everyone excited about coal, he happily put on a miner's helmet. But at a time when experts are begging people to wear masks, he stands there like a science experiment being unveiled by a bunch of doctors at a conference. As you can see, we successfully implanted the brain of a pigeon into a giant potato and then sewed on some limbs and shocked it with electricity until it came to life. So, still working out some kinks. Dude, seriously, just wear a mask. I promise it won't make you look less presidential, because there's no way you could look less presidential than you do now. Do you think we're going to be bummed out to be deprived of this part of the face? And not only have many countries suppressed their outbreaks, they've also avoided the worst case economic scenarios. Meanwhile, here in the US, we now account for 30% of the world's cases, despite having less than 5% of the world's population. 36 million people are out of work. We have the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression. And last week, the Fed reported that a staggering 40% of households making $40,000 or less lost their jobs in March. Or, as the president put it last week,
we have met the moment and we have prevailed.
Mr. President, you said in your comments earlier, we have met the moment, we have prevailed. To you, sir, is the mission accomplished, even with 1.4 million?
No, we prevailed on testing is what I'm referring to. That was with regard to testing.
Sorry, I read that wrong. I didn't mean to say prevailed. I meant to say pre-failed. We failed before we even knew what we were failing at. That's vision.
You can't make a big statement like, we've prevailed, then say it's just on testing. It's like if George W. Bush's infamous banner had an asterisk that said, mission accomplished, specifically the mission of printing and hanging this banner. Also, we have not prevailed on testing. I mean, it's good that we're ramping up testing now, but we needed it 3 months ago. Bragging about testing now is like showing up to a house that already burnt down and offering to water the grass. Other countries are putting in place rigorous programs of testing, contact tracing, and isolating cases, and that's why they've been able to slowly reopen and avoid the worst. We've fallen behind not just countries like South Korea, Australia, and Germany, but others you might not expect.
This is what the graph looks like for the US. You see a sharp rise in cases. It hasn't really tapered off yet, right? It's trending down. But to put that in context, that curve you see there, here's how some other places are doing. The first group is the countries that appear to have successfully suppressed transmission of the disease. That curve has come all the way down so that they are barely registering any new cases. We have Andorra, Australia, Austria, Bhutan, Cambodia, China, Croatia, Cuba, Djibouti, Estonia, Greece, Iceland, Jamaica, Jordan, Kosovo, Latvia, Lebanon, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Mauritius, Monaco, Montenegro, New Zealand, Slovakia, Slovenia, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, Tunisia, and finally Vietnam.
We did worse than Liechtenstein, Slovakia, and Latvia. I don't even know enough about those countries to make a joke. I'll just assume everyone there is named Gustavs and they chug Fanta while riding mopeds. Let us know if we got close. We even did worse than Bhutan. And just a side note here about Bhutan, what's up with their graph? Everyone else has a nice bell curve and their chart looks like the opening credits of Frasier. I guess Bhutan figured out that the cure for coronavirus is tossed salads and scrambled eggs. No, you're doing a show in your attic. Anyway, the point is, there are lots of countries that have suppressed their outbreaks, and now some of them are safely reopening in ways that are still far off for us. Like Germany, where professional soccer returned this weekend, although with a slight twist.
Germany could help provide the playbook for the future of sports in the United States. Today, the Bundesliga will make a return to the soccer field. It's the first major sports league in the world, along with Korean baseball, to return during the coronavirus pandemic. The move comes as Germany eases nationwide restrictions after seeing a drop in new cases.
Cheers like these will also fade away, along with the fans banned for the rest of the season. Still, there will be some fans in the stands, with supporters paying to have cardboard cutouts of themselves sitting in the stadiums.
That's right, German soccer fans are paying to have cardboard cutouts of themselves in the stands. It's such a German solution because it's so much more efficient than actually going to a game yourself. Sport is merely a diversion from the ceaseless march of time. Angela Merkel's going to start doing that for her meetings with Trump.
You've been a lot more amenable today. I like the new Angela.
Also, true story side note, for Mother's Day, my brother sent my mom a cardboard cutout of himself. Oh my God, look how happy she is. An incredibly thoughtful gift that made my gift of flowers with a note pale in comparison. I don't have a photo to show you because she didn't take one of that. And to my brother, I'd just like to say, pandemics are not the time to curry favor with mom, to which I'm sure he would say, even in non-pandemic times, I get thoughtful gifts and you don't, to which I would say, bud, I'd love to have this conversation, but I gotta get back to my look. Now, obviously, there are lots of factors and those countries are all very different, but at least some of those countries have made strides in part due to a national strategy of widespread testing, tracing the contacts of positive cases, and isolating those cases. Meanwhile, our president doesn't even think testing works.
You know, we've been doing testing at a level that nobody's ever done it before. We have the best testing in the world. It could be the testing's frankly overrated. Maybe it is overrated. But whatever they start yelling, we want more, we want more. You know, they always say we want more because they don't want to give you credit. Don't forget, we have more cases than anybody in the world. But why? Because we do more testing. When you test, you have a case. When you test, you find something is wrong with people. If we didn't do any testing, we would have very few cases.
That doesn't mean the cases would magically go away. They'd still be there. You just wouldn't know about them. If the Olympics stopped drug testing people, there'd be fewer positives, but a lot more cyclists who look like Dolph Lundgren, which might not be terrible. This is clearly a theme for Trump. He would much rather the U.S. just stop testing people so we can pretend we don't have any cases. For example, when a West Wing aide tested positive for coronavirus earlier this month, Trump said it somehow proved his theory that testing isn't important.
She tested very good for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden today she tested positive. So she tested positive out of the blue. This is why the whole concept of tests aren't necessarily great. The tests are perfect, but something can happen between a test where it's good and then something happens and all of a sudden she was tested very recently and tested negative. And then today, I guess, for some reason, she tested positive.
Oh, he's so close to getting it. Sometimes it feels like we as a nation are helping the dumbest kid in school with his science homework.
She tested negative every time.
Yes, good, go on.
Then today, she tested positive.
Yes, which means,
well, something changed.
yes. Now what changed?
I don't know.
She has the virus. That's what changed. She has the virus now. He thinks the problem with testing is that you can test negative, meaning you don't have coronavirus, then one day you test positive because you caught coronavirus.
It's like I always, smoke detectors are useless. They'll be quiet for years, and then you finally feel safe enough to leave a candle on top of a mattress, and they just start beeping like crazy.
It's clear that Trump would much rather simply pretend coronavirus no longer exists and go about doing all the other president stuff he used to do. On Friday, for example, as the U.S. death toll climbed to 88,000, Trump took time out of his day to commission a new flag for his pet project, the Space Force.
So today we're here for a very important, it's really an important occasion because we're unfurling the flag. So why don't we go ahead and do it? Let's do it. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Look at that goon grinning from ear to ear. He hasn't been that happy since Prime had a 2-for-1 deal on gold toilets. I mean, compare that face to the face he made the night he found out he was going to be president. I'd say he looks like he just saw a ghost, but it's probably the one he brought with him. So amid all of this, former President Obama decided to offer some rare public criticism during 2 virtual commencement addresses over the weekend. And say what you will about him, he certainly had his flaws as president, but it was so comforting just to hear a politician capable of showing empathy and compassion and talking in coherent sentences.
This pandemic has finally torn back the curtain on the idea that so many of the folks in charge know what they're doing. A lot of them aren't even pretending to be in charge. You know, all those adults that you used to think were in charge and knew what they were doing, turns out they don't have all the answers. A lot of them aren't even asking the right questions. Our society and our democracy only work when we think not just about ourselves, but about each other. Doing what feels good, what's convenient, what's easy, that's how little kids think. Unfortunately, a lot of so-called grown-ups, including some with fancy titles and important jobs, still think that way, which is why things are so screwed up.
It's both revealing and depressing that when Obama talks about grown-ups behaving like little children, we all know exactly who he's talking about. I mean, there's no mystery. Even Trump knows. It's not like his aides went to him and said, "Sir, he was talking about you," and Trump said,
Moi, but I was just sitting here drawing a new logo for the Space Force. Adult stuff. I think we can all agree adult stuff.
Also, I appreciate that Obama did this. I really do. But as he himself acknowledged, isn't like one of the upsides, maybe the only upside, of having your graduation canceled that you don't have to sit through a long, boring speech? I mean, don't get me wrong, Obama's a great speaker, but instead of giving a speech, maybe you could have hosted a game of virtual beer pong. That's 2. 2 in a row. I got a roll back. Hey, there's too much space between those cups. I want a re-rack. Better tighten that up. Tighten it up. Obama's reemergence comes as Trump pushes a totally deranged, made-up scandal that even he can't define, but which he's already named in an attempt to distract from coronavirus. And that dumb name has already been parroted by the media.
President Trump has escalated his attacks on his predecessor, taking to Twitter, adopting the term Obamagate, hashtagging it.
President Trump calls it Obamagate.
Obamagate? Obamagate. Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate.
Obamagate. Obamagate.
Stop trying to make Obamagate happen. It's not a thing. Just because the president makes up a word doesn't mean we all have to take it seriously. Every day Trump just tweets the word Obamagate in all caps. There's a good chance it's his Twitter password and he doesn't realize he's already logged in. Doesn't even make sense as a scandal name. Obamagate sounds like something in a sci-fi movie that we all have to walk through to restore the correct timeline. The guy from Apprentice is president, and the only basketball on TV is 25-year-old Jordan highlights. We have to find the Obamagate. Trump is so lazy he can't even come up with a more specific scandal name. He's like the boss who sees you wearing a hat one day and says, "What's up, hat guy?" So the death toll in the U.S. is over 88,000, and unemployment is at its highest since the Great Depression, and the president is accusing his predecessor of a made-up crime, and yet the sociopaths on the right, like former Bush advisor Karl Rove, you know, the guy who looks like you put glasses on a moldy kumquat, are more concerned with Obama's mild, indirect criticism of Trump.
It is so unseemly for a former president to take the virtual commencement ceremony for a series of historically black colleges and universities and turn it into a political drive-by shooting.
Okay, I know we've all lost track of time in quarantine, but Karl Rove being a gross ass on Fox News to get a president reelected, is this 2004? We went back too far! We gotta go through the Obamagate again! The president is just deeply incapable of and uninterested in doing his job. He clearly wishes he could just pretend the coronavirus pandemic was over, and to distract from it, he's peddling a made-up scandal about his predecessor that even he can't explain. That's Trump's one skill, his ability to exploit the media's weaknesses. From birtherism to Obamagate, whenever he concocts some deranged new conspiracy theory, the media responds by saying,
"We want more, we want more."
This has been A Closer Look. During the COVID crisis, City Harvest has been stepping up to rescue and deliver more food to meet the increased need in New York City. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe, wash your hands. We love you.